course by night, and even go out of his way to praise his drill instructor to patrolling officers. Sergeant Carter stood completely frozen in shock as he realized the touching truth behind Pyle's exhausting nocturnal efforts. The colonel even suggested that the sergeant make Pyle the guide and bearer of the platoon, leaving the speechless instructor with no choice but to swallow his frustration, nod respectfully, and thank the commander. Later that same night, Sergeant Carter decided to investigate the obstacle course personally to find his most unique recruit. Sure enough, he discovered Gomer-Pyle tirelessly practicing in the dark. Stepping forward, the sergeant adopted a stern tone to question why the private was out of quarters after hours, reminding him of the severe penalties for violating the rules. Pyle earnestly explained that he only wanted to master the course to help the sergeant secure the honor platoon he cared about so deeply. Touched by the boundless sincerity and sweet foolishness of the young man, Sergeant Carter's stern exterior melted away. He spoke in a much softer, gentler tone, ordering Pyle to head straight back to his quarters to rest, and assuring him that he would have a full and fair chance to showcase his skills during official training hours the next day. Pyle cheerfully acknowledged the order and turned to head back, but before leaving, he thoughtfully bent down to pick up his drop cap and offered a quick, enthusiastic tip on how to properly build momentum for the obstacle swing, leaving the weary drill instructor shaking his head with a mixture of affectionate exasperation and deep, quiet respect. The story concluded on a heartwarming note of camaraderie and gentle humor, celebrating the positive human connections and uplifting spirit shared among the members of the platoon. The script tells the story of military training at a basic training center for the United States Marine Corps, revolving around the main character Gomer-Pyle and his direct drill instructor, Sergeant Carter. It begins with the recruits just arriving at the barracks, where Gomer-Pyle, with his innocent, naive, and talkative personality, immediately creates hilarious and absurd situations. As he steps off the vehicle, Pyle cheerfully talks about Floyd's barbershop back home, how they leave the hair a little long in the back, trim the sideburns even with the ear hole, rub in some pomade, and part on the side to make a little rabbit ridge in front. This naivety forces Sergeant Carter to step in and immediately straighten out the order. Carter announces that he is the senior drill instructor, will watch over them every minute of every day of their boot camp training, and will tell them when to eat and when to dress. Pyle innocently blurts out that doing all that is very thoughtful and is going to spoil them, which infuriates Sergeant Carter and makes him question the recruit. When ordered to shout a slogan loudly, a teammate standing right behind Pyle shouts too loud, tickling Pyle's ear and making him grin. When the sergeant catches him and asks for the reason behind the smile during strict ranks, Pyle honestly explains the cause, driving Sergeant Carter even more crazy with this special case recruit. Sergeant Carter sets a goal to win the Honor Platoon title for the fourth consecutive time and demands that all recruits pull together and put in the effort to achieve that success. The next lesson begins with learning how to drill, including left face, right dress, and marching in place, while the sergeant counts cadence. Pyle is amazed and full of admiration for the sergeant's voice and cadence counting, praising him profusely and advising the sergeant to sing in his church choir because he possesses such a wonderful voice. This innocent and ill-timed praise makes Sergeant Carter furious, leading him to punish Pyle with 50 push-ups. Pyle performs them while cheerfully complimenting the rhythm and the exercise, leaving the sergeant sighing in helplessness. Next on the training program is the obstacle course under simulated combat conditions. The recruits run, scale high walls, crawl through dark pipes, and swing across a river on a rope. When it is Gomer-Pyle's turn, he runs into endless trouble because the wall is much higher than he imagined. Pyle innocently asks if the sergeant can get him a little stepladder, causing Carter to gasp in astonishment and scold him. With continuous help and prodding from the sergeant, Pyle finally clears the wall, crawls into a dark pipe like the inside of a cow, and tumbles around the subsequent obstacles. When swinging across the river on a rope, lacking enough momentum, Pyle lets go and plunges straight into the water, to everyone's shock. Yet he still cheerfully surfaces to ask if the water is cold and considers himself lucky because he had nothing in his pockets to get wet. After the exhausting training session, during break time, Pyle writes a letter home to his family and hesitates over whether friendly starts with I or EI. When asked about his drill instructor, Pyle innocently praises Sergeant Carter as a fine fellow and affirms that he likes the sergeant very much, stunning the surrounding teammates who cannot comprehend how anyone could like someone who yells all the time like Carter. Right at that moment, a shout calling the name of Gomer-Pyle echoes from outside, ordering him to report immediately to the duty hut. Pyle rushes over, executes the knocking and entering procedures incorrectly, and gets chased back outside to start over. When he performs a procedure correctly and enters the room, Pyle engages in another naive conversation with Sergeant Carter about the definition of a U, comparing appearances and mentioning his former boss Wally back home, who looked like a gopher. These innocent yet off-topic remarks drive Sergeant Carter nearly insane, confirming that Pyle is the single biggest obstacle preventing him from winning another honor platoon. Despite this, Pyle firmly asserts that he really likes the sergeant, leaving Carter with no choice but to chase him out in utter defeat. The next day, the sick bay records that Gomer-Pyle is suffering from acute asthenia due to complete exhaustion and is excused from duty for the entire day, stretched out on his rack. When Sergeant Carter hears the news, he becomes extremely upset, believing that this recruit is just faking an excuse to shirk his duties. When night falls, while everyone else is fast asleep, Pyle sneaks out to the obstacle course area to practice on his own in order to help Sergeant Carter get that honor platoon. The duty officer discovers Pyle running alone on the obstacle training ground at night and escorts him back to the barracks. This incident reaches the ears of the battalion commander, who mistakenly assumes that Sergeant Carter possesses such brilliant teaching methods that he inspires a recruit to voluntarily practice at night, leading the commander to heap praise on Carter. Hearing the superior officer's praise, Sergeant Carter can only manage a smile through his indescribable helplessness. The following night, Carter catches Pyle sneaking out to practice with his own eyes and orders him to head straight back to his quarters to sleep. Pyle innocently takes the opportunity to ask for advice on how to get a good push when tackling the obstacle course before obediently returning to his quarters, bringing to a close a sequence of training days filled with laughter, surprises, and gentle lessons about camaraderie in the Marine Corps. All right, move it, let's go. Come on, you, in that room. Come on, move it, in that seat. Now, I will tell you how Floyd, the barber back home, used to cut my hair. What he'd done was he would leave it a little long in the back. Then he would cut off the sideburns hereabout. Oh, say, even with the ear hole. Then he would trim a little bit off the top and rub in some pomade and part on the side and make a little rabbit ridge up here in front. Then he would comb it wet, okay? Well, it ain't exactly like Floyd, the barber back home, would have done it, but after all, it is just your first time. Gomer-Pyle U-S-M-C, starring Jim Nabors as Gomer-Pyle. Also starring Frank Sutton as Sergeant Carter. I am your senior drill instructor. I will watch over you every minute of every day of your boot camp training. I will tell you when to eat and when to dress. He is going to spoil us doing all that for us. Did I hear somebody talking? You are at attention. You do not move. You do not talk. When you do speak, the first word to come out of your mouth will be, sir. Is that clear? Yes, sir. What? Yes, sir. I cannot hear you. Yes, sir. Now. Something funny, private. Something funny about all this. Suppose you tell us what is so funny, huh? Well, sir, when we all hollered real loud like you own us to, the fellow behind me hollered in my ear, and it tickled and made me grin. I imagine the same thing happened to the fellow in front of me. Did you grin when I hollered in your ear? Knock it off. So, you think this is funny, do you, Private? What is your name? Gomer-Pyle, sir. All right, Pyle. I am going to be watching you real close. You hear me good? You are doing it again. Wipe that smile off your face. You were doing the same thing he did, hollered in my ear, and it made me grin. Knock it off. All right. Now, you people listen up. I have had 3 honor platoons in a row. Do you hear me? 3 honor platoons. And I'm going to get a 4th. And who is going to help me to get it? We are, sir. What? We are, sir. I cannot hear you. We are, sir. And now we will begin by learning how to drill. Left, hut. Dress right. Hut. All right. Come on. Dress it up. Dress it up. Ready, hut. We will do a little drilling in place. I will count cadence. You will listen. Hut and hut. Hut, a, lay, hit, a, lay, up. Lay, I lay up. Hut, I lay up. Lay, a, hut, hut. What is funny, Pyle? What is funny this time, huh? How you do that? Huh? How you